Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we got another shop talk video, and today's topic is going to be, should you be warming up your vehicle's engine before you drive away, whether it be cold or hot outside, winter or summer? I've been asked this question numerous amounts of times, and I feel I should address it with my firm belief on this and what I've seen works and what doesn't. Now before we go ahead and begin, guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below and definitely smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's topic. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be discussing should you be warming up your car, and I'm going to cover a couple points here, and I'm going to try to keep this video pretty short and sweet. Summertime, I really don't warm up my car. My key rule is give it at least 2 minutes to a minute, let the oil flow, let everything get up to a little bit of a temperature. But if it's summertime out there and it's hot and you're in a t-shirt and shorts and you can be out there comfortably and it's warm, your car will be fine. You don't really have to go to extreme lengths. The only time you may want to warm it up a little bit more is not because you're going to warm it up, but because you're running your AC to cool down your interior so it's more comfortable for you. So either way, in the summertime, guys, 2 minutes. If the car's been sitting overnight for 12 hours or a little bit longer, just give the engine a little bit of time to cycle all the oil through the engine, let the transmission fluid cycle all through the transmission, and that's all you're really waiting the 1 or 2 minutes for. Because if you were to just start it and put it in drive, as the car sits overnight, oil does dissipate, drain down. You just want to give it ample time for that pressure to build up, the oil to circulate through the whole engine and the whole system. That way it coats everything. And even though it's running and let's say the oil may have drained down, it's a lot different if you just start it up and put it in drive and start giving it gas and raising your RPMs without oil than it just idling. Chances are if you run an engine at idle with very low oil, you're not going to damage it, but the second you rev it up and it requires that oil pressure to be up and it doesn't have it, you will damage it. So that's how I view it in the summertime. Now as far as winter time, guys, this is highly debated. Some people say start your car and drive it, and some people say no, you got to warm it up. Well, I don't care what anyone says to this regard. My opinion has always been the same and will never change, guys. I live in Chicago. It can be very temperate here. Our summers are warm, sometimes excessively warm, and our winters can be mild or excessively cold. And I always tell every one of my customers, every one of my family members, anyone that asks me this question, I tell them you need to warm up your car in the wintertime. Now, the amount of time that you should warm it up may differ from person to person because everybody's different. Now, there is something that I have installed on my car that I personally love, and it's called a remote starter. I'm pretty sure anyone that lives in a cold climate has one of these on their vehicles. And if you don't, you should really think about getting one because it's very convenient and it winds up helping you out in the long run. So the reason why you want to warm up your engine oil and your engine and your car in total in the winter, there's a lot of benefits to this, guys. One, you're warming up your engine, your oil isn't thick consistency, it's liquefied, it's coating everything properly, and your engine's happy. Your transmission gets to do the same thing as your engine does. It helps the fluid liquefy. It's not as thick as honey because a lot of people don't know that as your car sits in cold temperatures, oil goes from a liquid state to a thicker state, and you got to give it a little bit of time to make its way around, to heat up so it can coat everything properly and give your engine and your transmission proper, I guess you can say, benefits that it's made to do for, like coating everything and making everything slippery so you don't have any metal to metal contacts or anything of that sort of nature. The other benefit, aside from your engine being warmed up and being happy because oil is flowing through it correctly and is getting proper oil pressures and everything, it would be for the convenience and comfort of you. If you let your car warm up in the wintertime and you have your heater on, when you get to your car, you're going to see some benefits. Now, your windows will probably be defrosted if you leave it on heat, and your cabin will be warm. So when you're getting in your car, you're not freezing, huddled up, warming up your hands, attempting to drive it in a cold state. It's just more comfortable for you. And in turn, I think when it's cold outside and it's slippery and it's wet, the last thing you want to do, especially if it's snowing, is sit there and try to navigate a car like this because you're freezing when road conditions aren't that great. You'd want to get in your car, be comfortable, see and assess the roads and things of that nature. So that's why it's also a good thing for you when you warm up your car, not just your engine. Now, with the warming up in the wintertime, I know you guys just hear me saying engine, and that's kind of what it primarily is about. There's a lot of benefits to this, guys. It's not just your engine. Your transmission will actually warm up a little bit too. Now, transmissions don't really warm up that much unless you are driving them. It does take a long time for them to just idle to get up to a certain temperature. But if you give your engine about 10-15 minutes of warm-up time, that transmission oil is going to be moving inside the transmission as well, and also the heat from the engine is going to transition a little bit in there and help it out. And what you're doing is you're taking your oil from a thicker consistency, which will happen overnight, and you're liquefying it. It's flowing better, it's giving the correct pressures, and the same goes for the engine. You're taking that thicker oil, liquefying it, it's back in an oil state. It can coat every piece of the motor that it should be coating with oil, so there's no friction between moving engine parts or metal to metal issues. Versus if you don't warm it up, you just start it up, that oil is pretty thick, kind of like honey. Your engine's not getting proper lubrication. It's actually wearing down its metal components a little bit more heavier and sooner than it should be, and eventually that will cause engine damage in the end of it. Same goes for the transmissions. If you guys just get in your car and start it up and drive down the road without warming it up in the winter, you'll notice that your transmission shifts really rough, really hard. And a lot of components in the car that have oil in them will act the same way, guys. Power steering systems, if you don't let the car warm up in the wintertime, you can have a little bit of a heavy power steering feel until it starts warming up and things of that nature, and you can be causing all sorts of damage. So that's why I tell people, warm up your car in the wintertime. Now, I like doing my warm-up time in 15-minute intervals. So if I wake up in the morning and it's winter, it's let's say 20 degrees outside, I'll start my truck up. It'll run for 15 minutes. I get in it and I drive, and everything's happy. And even though I'm getting in it, I'm not beating it up. I'm driving it normally. After I put a mile or two on it, I would say the engine and transmission and all the systems are fully warmed up and ready to be driven like normal. Because even though 15 minutes has been warming up your engine and transmission, your differentials, your transfer case oils, and things of that nature, those things don't really warm up until you're moving. It needs gear-to-gear action, compression of that oil to be able to liquefy it and warm it up if it does get to a thicker consistency. So just because you did give it 10 or 15 minutes, that doesn't mean that you can get in it and rev it up and go to town. You still got to drive a mile or two, let everything get to the correct temperature. And if you don't do any of that, guys, and you just get in it and you're wailing on your car and this and that, like I said, oil isn't going to be where it should be. It's not protecting vital components that it should. Eventually, it will lead your car to getting some sort of damage in the future. And I'm not saying it's going to happen right away, but eventually that engine and transmission or any component that has been enduring the non-warm-up periods will eventually start failing or have issues. And that's what typically happens. And that is why I recommend that people warm up their engines in the wintertime. It's just better for your car. It's better for you. There's a lot of benefits from it. Now, there is one thing that I know people are thinking. There's a lot of myths out there, and I've heard them, where idling your engine is bad for your engine. Not the case, guys. An engine is made to run. Now, should you let your engine idle for 500 hours, non-stop without driving it? Probably not, because, it will get used to that. You got to kind of flex its muscles as well. But honestly, guys, 15 minutes of idle time in the winter, it's not going to hurt your engine. And for those of you that say, hey, my engine is polluting if I'm just running it and not driving it, well, here's the thing. If your engine's not warmed up and your engine doesn't go into closed loop operation, you are actually going to be wasting more gas because a cold engine will run an open loop. The computer's main job is to dump fuel to get everything up to temperature so the oxygen sensors can start doing good readings because the catalytic converters are warmed up. And if you don't achieve that state, guys, you're actually going to be dumping more fuel and using more fuel. So that kind of falls flat on its face for a theory as well. And the third thing that I've always heard is, oh, you're going to wind up wasting gas. Now that I will agree. In the wintertime, if you're, let's say, every morning starting your car up and giving it 15 minutes of warm-up time, yes, you're going to waste gas. As long as an engine is running, it's burning gas. That's a fact. But the $5 a gallon that I would be saving not warming up my engine versus the $5 wasted that I would be wasting warming it up, I'd rather waste that $5 on warming it up all day long. Let's say a gallon a week, about $5 a week. Because in the long run, guys, it doesn't matter. You could save $5 a week for 3 years. At the end of the day, it's not going to add up to the price of a new engine if you wind up grenading your engine. So I'm more than happy just sacrificing a gallon of fuel a week to keep my engine running good and warming it up, making me comfortable in the cabin, and making sure my engine is happy and all of my car components are nicely warmed up, so I don't have a car that prematurely fails or something breaks on it. And this is how it goes. That's how I feel about it. So not to keep dragging this video long anymore, guys, that's pretty much my basis on this. I would love to hear you guys' opinions. I know this thing may start a little bit of a hot comment war here, but that's not my goal here. Just me expressing my opinions here, guys. So with that said, please comment, like, and subscribe because it definitely helps the channel grow. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.